Good evening. It's Thursday, the 6th of November, and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. Disaster recovery. Philippines launches massive cleanup as Typhoon Kalmagi leaves trail of destruction. Political shift. Democrats score sweeping election victories across key states as record US government shutdown deepens. Historic discovery. On the surviving Titanic first-class passenger list resurfaces after 113 years.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Prithika Sivakumar.
Good evening and thank you once again for joining us on World News Tonight on Derana News Channel. In the Philippines, recovery operations are underway after Typhoon Kalmagi left at least 85 people dead and dozens missing. Entire communities in Cebu and neighboring provinces remain flooded, with widespread power outages and blocked roads. Anger is growing as residents accuse officials of corruption and neglect installed flood control projects.
River swelled and with it wiped away nearly everything. As these Filipinos return to what was once their homes, there is little to do but take stock and salvage what they can from the mud that cakes nearly everything.
We've lost everything. We don't have a home. We need help. We've no place to sleep, no food, nothing. We only have torn clothes. We just need food, rice, anything to eat, but we have nothing.
With the death toll rising, residents of the Philippines' Cebu province, home to more than 2.4 million people, described how Typhoon Kalmagi brought unprecedented rainfall, which led to flash floods and landslides that engulfed entire communities.
The floodwaters quickly rushed in. We were not able to bring anything with us. This was the first time that this has happened to us. I've been living here for almost 16 years, and it was the first time I've experienced such flooding.
The Philippines is regularly hit by typhoons and storms, with around 20 a year. This in addition to a dozen active volcanoes, as well as earthquakes. A major one hit just over a month ago. But officials and residents are reeling in the aftermath of Typhoon Kalmagi. Cebu's provincial governor called it unprecedented and devastating, and it has sparked anger among many Filipinos who say public officials have mismanaged funds in phantom flood safety projects.
Japan deployed troops to Kazuno in Akita Prefecture to help set traps and assist hunters after a record wave of bear incidents since April that have injured more than 100 people and killed at least 12. Officials say soldiers will not use firearms while supporting local trapping and carcass disposal.
Troops are being deployed to help trap bears in Japan's rugged north after more than 100 attacks on people across the country since April, a record 12 of them fatal. Residents of Kazuno town, nestled among forested mountains, have been urged to stay indoors after dark and avoid thick woodland. The troops are there to transport, set up and inspect steel-barred traps used to capture bears and are armed with bear spray, shields and long wooden poles. Any bears captured are later shot by trained hunters to cull the population. In recent weeks, there have been bear attacks on people at a supermarket, a bus stop and a hot spring resort. Rising bear numbers, climate change-driven shifts in natural food sources and depopulation of rural areas are bringing more people into contact with bears. Sightings have jumped sixfold this year to more than 8,000 according to authorities in Akita Prefecture. The government in Tokyo is due to announce a package of emergency measures to deal with the problem. They've already relaxed gun rules to make it easier for hunters to shoot bears in urban areas.
The Chinese government has issued guidance requiring that new state-funded data centers must exclusively use domestically produced artificial intelligence chips, with projects under 30% completion instructed to remove any installed foreign hardware. The directive marks one of Beijing's most aggressive moves to wean its AI infrastructure off foreign technology, say sources.
The Chinese government has clamped down on foreign-made AI chips being used in the country's data centres. That's according to two sources close to the matter. They said Beijing issued guidance on new data centre projects that have received any state funds. They're now required to use only domestically made AI semiconductors. Chinese regulators have reportedly ordered such data centers that are less than 30% complete to remove all installed foreign chips or cancel plans to purchase them. The sources added projects in a more advanced stage will be decided on a case-by-case basis. The move could be one of China's most aggressive steps to remove foreign technology from its critical infrastructure and to achieve AI chip self-sufficiency. Beijing's access to advanced AI chips, including those made by Nvidia, has been a key point of friction with Washington. US President Donald Trump said Sunday the US will let China deal with Nvidia, but not in terms of the most advanced chips. It followed talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping last week. The latest move by Beijing could hurt Nvidia's hopes of regaining Chinese market share. It also gives local rivals like Huawei another chance to gain more chip sales. The sources said it's unclear whether the guidance applies nationwide or only to certain provinces. They also didn't identify which Chinese regulatory bodies had issued the order. Foreign chip makers that sell data center chips to China include AMD and Intel as well as Nvidia. Two of Beijing's most powerful regulators didn't respond to requests for comment, while Nvidia and AMD didn't respond and Intel declined to comment.
North Korea has condemned the latest US sanctions targeting alleged cyber money laundering networks linked to its weapons programs, accusing Washington of unremitting hostility. The regime's vice foreign minister stated Pyongyang will respond with what it called proper measures and patience for any length of time.
North Korea said it will respond with strategic patience to what it calls Washington's unchanged hostility following the recent sanctions. According to its state media Korean Central News Agency on Thursday, Kim Min-chul, Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs in charge of U.S. affairs, issued a statement that reiterated Pyongyang's position against what it called the deep-rooted hostility toward our state from the current U.S. administration. Kim added that the latest round of sanctions is the fifth unilateral sanctions package since the Trump administration took office, and denounced the U.S. for asserting pressure and coercion, which will have no impact on the North's position toward Washington. This comes as the U.S. Treasury Department announced this week new sanctions on individuals and institutions allegedly involved in laundering illicit funds from cybercrime operations to fund the North's weapons program. The State Department had also stated that it plans to pursue UN sanctions against foreign ships accused of helping transport North Korean coal and iron ore exports to China. Despite Trump's interest in reviving talks with Kim Jong-un, as the sanctions continue, Pyongyang's choice of strategic patience may suggest a sharp rhetoric and a renewed hardline approach. On the U.S. perspective, analysts say that the latest sanctions may signal stronger pressure on the regime after U.S.-North Korea talks failed to materialize during Trump's recent visit to Asia.
Let's go in for a short commercial break. More world news coming right after this. Welcome back. Major victories for the Democratic Party in the first significant U.S. elections of Donald Trump's second term underscore voter discontent, especially as the federal government shutdown became the longest in American history. With races in New York, Virginia, and New Jersey turning decisively, analysts say the standoff over funding and healthcare subsidies may have reshaped the political landscape.
U.S. President Donald Trump is demanding Republicans end the Democratic filibuster by invoking what he calls the nuclear option, which will lower the threshold for passing bills from 60 votes to a simple majority. Trump warned on Truth Social that if the filibuster isn't terminated, the Democrats may be more likely to win the midterms and the next presidential election. He argued that without ending the rule, his administration's agenda, from tax cuts to tighter border control, will be blocked for years. But Senate leaders have resisted, saying such a move would destroy bipartisan traditions and ultimately backfire. That debate now comes amid a political setback for the White House. In Tuesday's elections, seen as an early test of Trump's second term, Democrats swept key races, winning the governorships in Virginia and New Jersey, and taking New York City's mayoral seat with progressive lawmaker Zohran Mamdani, the city's first Muslim mayor. In Virginia, former Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger became the state's first female governor, flipping the seat long held by Republicans. Analysts say the results may signal voter frustration with Trump's shutdown politics, serving as an early referendum on his leadership ahead of next year's midterms. With the government still shuttered and the opposition emboldened, the record shutdown and the filibuster showdown are shaping up to be a political test of Trump's second term.
Grisha Kiro was sworn in yesterday as mayor of Uruapan after the November 1st assassination of husband Carlos Manso during Day of the Dead celebrations. State Congress approved the appointment unanimously. She vowed to continue his anti-cartel crusade. Authorities arrested 2 suspects and now assigned at least 14 security agents.
Grisha Kiro's appointment as mayor of Uruapan carries enormous symbolic weight in a region long scarred by cartel violence. Her husband, Carlos Manso, was known for publicly condemning organized crime's grip on Michoacan's avocado industry, one of Mexico's most lucrative exports. His assassination during Day of the Dead festivities shocked the nation, underscoring how even high-ranking officials are not immune to the terror inflicted by cartels that exploit local economies and intimidate communities into silence. Quiroz, speaking at her swearing-in ceremony, vowed to continue her late husband's work, describing his death as a call to courage, not retreat. She inherits not just a political office, but a war zone of competing criminal interests, ranging from the Jalisco New Generation cartel to local gangs vying for control of the green gold trade. Michoacan has seen repeated waves of violence as cartels extort avocado producers, forcing local farmers and politicians to align or face deadly consequences. The Mexican government, criticized for its limited protection of reform-minded leaders, now faces renewed pressure to safeguard mayors and municipal workers in high-risk regions. Quiroz will be guarded by 14 state-assigned security agents, though experts say that alone won't guarantee her safety. Her defiance, however, has made her a national figure of resilience, a reminder that even amid fear, leadership can take root.
European ministers struck a last-minute compromise on a 2040 emissions goal, approving a 90% cut from 1990 levels while allowing up to 5% compliance via foreign carbon credits, effectively reducing domestic efforts as some states, notably Poland and Hungary, opposed the move before COP30 in Brazil this week.
After intense negotiations, EU climate ministers have agreed on a 2040 climate change target ahead of the COP30 summit in Brazil. The agreement sets a goal to cut emissions by 90% by 2040. However, this target includes certain flexibilities that could dilute its impact.
The target is in line with science. It's needed not only for showing our global leadership in climate, but it's also there to give guidance to industry.
Under the new plan, countries are allowed to buy foreign carbon credits to cover up 5% of the 90% emissions reduction target. This effectively reduces the required emissions cuts from European industries to 85%. The rest will be compensated by paying foreign countries to cut emissions on Europe's behalf. Additionally, the EU has agreed to consider, in the future, using international carbon credits to meet another 5% of the 2040 emissions reductions. This could potentially lower the domestic target by another 5%.
France has begun proceedings to suspend online retailer Shein after its consumer watchdog found childlike sex dolls and weapons listed on the platform, officials said. The move coincided with Shein's opening of its first Paris store, prompting protest and heightened regulatory scrutiny over the marketplace across France and Europe today.
France started proceedings on Wednesday to suspend online fast fashion retailer Shein after childlike sex dolls and weapons were found being sold on its site. The government says the suspension will last until the e-commerce titan proves its platform complies with French law. Shein said it sanctioned the sellers of the sex dolls and implemented a worldwide ban on the sale of such products on its site. The company also decided to temporarily suspend its marketplace in France to review and strengthen how the third-party sellers operate. Lawmakers also pointed out listings on Shein's site for weapons, including brass knuckles, which are banned in France, and an axe. The controversy comes as Shein's new shop in the 19th century BHV department store causes uproar that goes beyond the latest concerns. Politicians and retailers say the online giant has an unfair advantage and has eroded French high streets. Though on Wednesday, many French shoppers said it was a bad idea to suspend Shein in the country. Following news of the planned suspension, Frédéric Marlan, president of SGM, the company that owns BHV, called on Shein's leaders to set higher standards.
This whole situation is absolutely terrible. It's despicable. I've said it several times. I strongly encourage, and I'm still having discussions, following this morning's announcements about the bladed weapons being sold on the platform. I strongly encourage the leaders of Shein to establish rules and establish them quickly. What Shein's marketplace is doing is not right.
The finance ministry said it would suspend Shein's entire website in France. Not just the marketplace if banned products continue to be found for sale. Lawmakers summoned the firm to a hearing in Parliament on November 18, and the company accepted. The European Commission contacted Shein on Wednesday about the latest reports, a spokesperson said, but has not opened a formal investigation.
Time for a short break now. We'll be right back with more world news. Welcome back. In Dubai's bustling specialty coffee scene, Julith Coffee is now offering what they say is the world's most expensive coffee, around $1,000 a cup. The brew uses rare Panamanian Nido 7 geisha beans purchased for roughly $600,000 at auction, and only about 400 cups will ever be made available.
If you thought your daily latte was hurting your wallet, just know it could be worse. A cup of joe at this cafe in Dubai costs almost a year's worth of Starbucks. Julith Coffee claims to sell the most expensive cup of coffee in the world, made from beans they purchased at auction from Panama.
You will find mostly white flowers like jasmine and citrus flavors like orange, mandarin, bergamot.
They say they dropped $600,000 on 44 pounds of these rare hand-picked beans. So to make back their money, they're charging $1,000 per cup. But are any of their customers willing to spend that much on a single coffee run?
If I was very rich and I did not care, I would try it just because.
The cafe says it plans to sell about 400 cups of the coffee and will save some of the beans for a special occasion to share with Dubai's ruling family.
A previously unknown canvas bag recovered from the wreckage of the RMS Titanic has revealed what experts believe to be the only surviving first-class passenger list from the tragic 1912 voyage. The bag belonged to first-class passenger Frederick Sutton and its effects now headline an upcoming auction by Henry Aldrich and Son.
Over a century after it sank to its watery grave, the Titanic continues to fascinate and sell. England's Henry Aldrich and Son is helping auction a collection of items from Frederick Sutton, a first-class passenger on the doomed ocean liner who died when it sank. Sutton's body was never recovered, but some of his personal effects were pulled from the North Atlantic. Those effects include a canvas bag. Something recently was found in the bag, a first-class passenger list.
Is incredibly rare. As far as I know, it's the only one to have survived. It's first-class passenger lists, but the first-class passenger list was found in canvas bags, so it's waterlogged. It obviously, having been in the North Atlantic, paper and seawater, especially ocean seawater, they're not completely compatible, so it's not in the best condition. My client only literally discovered it by chance a couple of years ago. My client showed the bag to his granddaughter. Granddaughter held it open and put her hand in the bag, and in the bag was the pieces of the passenger list that we're talking about. You know, it was a remarkable discovery. My client, very sensibly, he took it to an expert conservator who has stabilised the pages.
The passenger list includes Titanic famous names like Isidor Straus, John Jacob Astor, and Benjamin Guggenheim.
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. On the hopes of seeing you again, I'm Prithika Sivakumar, and we'll leave you tonight with the visuals of fiery barrels blazing as UK town unites for tradition. Also, don't forget to send us your feedback through email at feedback.adncenglish@derana.lk or via WhatsApp at 076-805-7933. Thank you for watching World News Tonight on Derana News Channel. Have a good night.